the belief nonsensical. It doesn't just happen on its own, because if you don't do anything about it, if you don't investigate it, if you don't look deeply within yourself with honesty and curiosity and a willingness to change, then the negative belief will simply keep perpetuating itself. So it's not about waiting for it to make no sense. It's about actively seeking ways and understanding ways in which it simply no longer makes sense to you. One way is to look around in your reality on your planet and see if there's someone doing something similar in their passion as to what you would find also passionate about, exciting about doing, and recognize what it is that's different between you that allows them to do it, but not you. It is in that difference you will find the difference in your definitions, and then perhaps it will stand out more clearly why the definition for you is nonsensical, because if they can do it, why can't you?
So are the beliefs in the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind, these negative beliefs?
They're in the conscious mind, sometimes in the subconscious mind or unconscious mind, but they actually originate within the conscious mind, because the idea of those negative beliefs is not natural to your greater being. It's things that are learned and ingrained within you in the conscious world, in the conscious reality. Again, either by your circumstances and situations, your parents, your friends, your schooling, your society. These are all introduced into the conscious mind. Aspects of these then beliefs, negative beliefs, filter into your subconscious and unconscious mind when you are given perhaps contradictory information that you don't know how to process, don't know how to handle. So you store them in the subconscious and unconscious mind to be released later when you might gain enough information and knowledge and experience to be able to understand them at that point, bring them back into the conscious mind to determine for yourself at that point what it is that's nonsensical and irrelevant for you and what it is you determine you will keep believing in. So again, the subconscious and unconscious mind are used as different types of reservoirs to hold on to things you can't immediately process. But all of these negative beliefs are, in a sense, received by the conscious mind. Now, the only exception to this, and it's not really an exception, but just an augmentation, would be that if you have decided as a spirit to come into the reality with a certain theme you will explore, then you might allow the conscious mind to be, shall we say, more open to receiving some of these negative and fear-based beliefs that you will then use in your process to overcome and, shall we say, transform so that you can fulfill the theme that you chose to explore. But the fear-based beliefs are still received by the conscious mind, even though you make, shall we say, set up a likelihood of accepting them from a higher level to begin with as a representation of a theme that you will choose to explore.
Can you comment on the idea of compartmentalization and how that can shield one from the consequences of negative beliefs?
Compartmentalization, because you operate it in a physical reality that has time and space and can have time lags and so on and so forth, can be used as a certain vibrational pattern to, in a sense, act as a filtering system so that you can achieve certain things on one level while holding off on certain kinds of consequences on another level. In other words, you're storing everything for later dissemination, for later analyzation, for later observation. And this is why when you pass into spirit, you cannot avoid the idea of life review, where you experience the consequences of every action that you took. Because now in that state of being, non-physically, you have dissolved all of the barriers. There is no more conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. It's all right there in one awareness. And thus, at that point, if not at any point earlier, you will experience every single idea, every single consequence, every single action, every single emotion, everything you may have put into the reservoir for later analysis will come flooding in during the life review if you do not deal with them in the physical reality at some point.
Can you say a little more about how you actually experience life review? I think one questioner was concerned about going through it, that it seems fearful or like
you
a
will
terrible
not experience
experience.
it in a fearful way. you will understand through a form of spiritual empathy what it is that any other person that may have been affected by a choice you made would have felt, would have experienced. But I know this sounds like a little bit of a contradiction or an oxymoron, but you experience all these things from a neutral position. You experience them fully as if it's happening to you. But since there is absolutely no judgment on it from the spiritual perspective, you are not experiencing any of the things you would heap upon yourself in physical reality, such as judgment for having done it. And therefore, while you can experience it in its fullest form, you do not actually experience the judgment that would amplify it in a negative way. Therefore, there is nothing to fear. It is simply absorbed as information and knowledge and experience and used in a positive way to determine what you will do next and how you will grow from those things, how you will learn from those things. I know this may not be absolutely clear to you, since most of you are absolutely not used to experiencing any lack of judgment at all on the things you do, on the negative ideas, on the negative fear-based beliefs. But by eliminating the idea of self-judgment, you simply can experience a full emotional experience of what someone else may have experienced in physical reality, but without the judgment, it is not experienced in any way, shape, or form that is fear-inducing.
So back to the idea of compartmentalization, an individual that's capable of compartmentalizing and then doing harm to thousands of people through negative acts and worldwide consequences for their behavior.
Yes.
When they go this on this planet, you can experience those kinds of things, and yet when you go through life review, the idea of the karma or the punishment,
not karma. It's not karma.
none of that is going to happen, right?
You will experience the consequence of everything you did, and you will experience it from the points of view of every single person that was engaged or involved or affected in some way, shape, or form. You will experience it all as if it's happening to you, each and every individual, and not even immediately, but even those that have repercussions and ripples that extend sometimes for days, months, weeks, years, and centuries. You'll experience every single consequence and ripple effect that came as a result of the choices that you made. So it's not that you escape it, but you don't experience it as a punishment. You experience it as an experience.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. And regarding working with the subconscious, hypnosis has been a method used to explore it and assist medically. Is it beneficial, and can we improve our method and use, and how?
Again, like previous questions, it can be beneficial for those individuals that are attracted to use that particular permission slip. It can be very effective for many of you because it does help the majority of people in the collective idea of the themes you are exploring to unlock from any particular reality concept that you may be holding on to and truly be capable of letting it go. So it can be an effective permission slip because it taps into the collective unconscious of your reality and the themes that the collective may have agreed to explore, and lets you, in many cases, be relatively fluid with them or free of them. So yes, but it's still nonetheless a permission slip. And again, it can be more effective the more you understand how it can be a skeleton key of sorts to unlock every different kind of lock that may be experienced in your life. But again, it's up to the individual to decide whether or not that's something that they will gravitate to, that they are attracted to. Remember that you're hypnotizing yourself all the time anyway to believe certain things that aren't necessarily real, at least temporarily so. So all of you, in that sense, in order to have a physical reality, are under the influence of different types of hypnosis.
Okay, and is the subconscious mind like a doorway to the higher consciousness? Is the subconscious part of the mind or the higher self?
It's part of the mind, but it is the part, again, that acts as a go-between between the physical conscious mind and the unconscious mind to determine exactly what portions of information that reside in the unconscious mind and the higher self the physical mind is ready to process. So it acts as a kind of a gatekeeper, the subconscious mind, to let through whatever the conscious mind feels it is ready to deal with in terms of facing different belief systems and processing them and letting the negative ones go. So, of course, everything is a reflection of what the higher mind chose to experience, but it is a specific part that acts as a gatekeeper for what the conscious mind is ready to deal with. The subconscious mind more or less open to bringing through certain ideas in a very specific way. So in other words, the subconscious mind may now be relegated to bringing only certain things through, but bringing them through more fully than it ever would for a quote unquote typical trilateral conscious mind. So it depends upon what, again, the theme of exploration is, what this spirit or soul has decided to experience, and how it will use the subconscious mind as a gateway to bring through those specific things that are relevant for the experience that you are calling autism or those other conditions you have named.
And
so it's like having the subconscious mind have a way of doing slightly different kinds of duties, slightly different kinds of filtering or not filtering, depending upon the theme that is being explored by that particular consciousness.
And with multiple personality disorder, is that a mental issue or is it a spiritual issue?
Well, it can be both, because again, remember, as above, so below. So there can be affectations in the mental consciousness that will allow for that particular being to experience those things that may originate in a other dimensional or spiritual nature. But the idea fundamentally, and again, not for every case, but fundamentally, is that an individual is tapping into multiple parallel realities, multiple versions of themselves, without necessarily having the filtering system or the control system imposed upon it that would allow them to function in an orderly fashion, communicating with one another in a way that still allows the individual to function, quote unquote, normally in your reality. So it's a type of tapping into multiple dimensions, multiple parallel realities, without the ability to focus in any one particular one in an effective way, but again, can be done for a variety of reasons that may be personal to that particular consciousness experiencing that.
So is the person tapping into multiple spirits and having them all share one body, or?
No, it's not the sharing in the body, but it's an expression through the body, if that's what you mean by that. They don't all reside in the body per se, but the body can function as a reflector or a mirror for different versions of spirit and consciousness and physical beings in other parallel realities temporarily. So again, sort of like your telephone analogy, you can have different friends speak to you through the same phone, but it's not like they're inhabiting the phone. It's like the idea is that the phone and your body is a device that can, based on its frequency, allow different voices and different experiences to come through temporarily.
So is creativity from the higher mind, the subconscious mind, or the unconscious mind?
It is mostly from the higher mind, although there can be versions of it that filter into the unconscious and subconscious and even the conscious mind in the form of inspiration. But as we said, the idea is that the higher mind is the conceiver. The brain is the receiver, and the physical conscious mind is the perceiver. So what you're calling creativity is a conception that originates in the higher mind, in the higher self, and filters down in whatever ways are relevant through the unconscious, subconscious, and into the conscious mind in ways that allow the conscious mind, the conscious being, the personality to be creative. But all of that comes from source and therefore filters down, so to speak, through the higher mind to the conscious mind, the triune conscious mind.
How does that relate to the higher mind, to the oversoul, to the higher, to the unconscious, subconscious? I notice there's confusion often.
All right. Again, without going into too much detail and too many layers and levels, because you can create a number of them anyway for various purposes. Of course, everything starts with all that is source. It all comes from that. It's all an expression of that. But it goes down into different levels of oversoul, whether you want to say it's a universal oversoul or a galactic oversoul or a solar system oversoul or a planetary oversoul is relatively arbitrary. But it goes from the oversoul level into the individual soul level. And then the individual soul creates the idea of the non-physical higher mind and the triune physical mind. Then through the experiences of the physical mind, you create the concept of the unique spirit that is germane and unique to that particular physical experience. And that becomes part of the soul. But the idea, again, is that it usually goes from oversoul to higher mind, to unconscious to subconscious to conscious mind, that then through its experience creates a representative spirit that is a unique representation of the experience of that particular personality that then resides in the soul and the oversoul and all that is from that point forward, speaking linearly.
Awesome. Mind filtering UFOs. Are there does the unconscious and subconscious minds that are responsible for filtering out things filter out UFOs, fairies, elementals, other beings from the conscious mind and limit what it can receive? And if so, is it being due to negative beliefs or is it for other reasons?
Both. It can be for fear-based beliefs that it's doing that filtering. It can be something that the conscious mind believes it's not ready for. That would cause upset and imbalance within it to perceive those things because of its theme of exploration. And it can also simply be that the being is not ready in timing for the idea. And it simply can be outside the theme of exploration. But again, there are limitations there that are dissolving. You are becoming more aware that these beings exist, that these forms of consciousness exist, that there are ET beings, that there are extra dimensional beings, that there are elemental beings. There are different aspects of consciousness that are connected to your planet in a variety of levels. And therefore, it's really simply a matter of when it's the appropriate timing for you to allow and open up and dissolve the barriers between the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious minds to the degree where they can perceive more in the conscious mind of what is all around it all the time. The unconscious mind is always aware of these things, just as the higher mind is. But again, it's a reservoir that holds these things back because the subconscious mind determines from the belief system of the conscious mind what the conscious mind is ready to perceive and experience and interact with based on the theme of exploration and the belief systems that exist at that moment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, you've said that to access the subconscious mind, unconscious mind, and so on, that we have to raise our vibration.
Yes.
But how do we know that we are in that state? How do we know that we've accessed the subconscious or the unconscious mind? And do you have a tip to achieve the most frequent type of vibration needed to access the subconscious and the unconscious?
Last question first, follow the formula because
Right.
it leaves nothing relevant out and raises your vibration when you're acting on your passion. And the question, how do we know when we're there, will become obvious when you actually have raised your vibration. To ask the question means the vibration is not high enough. When you are in the high enough frequency, that question will no longer be relevant and it will be exactly apparent what level you're on, what vibrational state you're in. So raising your vibration will eliminate the need to ask a question, when am I in that vibration? How do I know when I'm in that vibration? It's a self-canceling idea.
Is there a frequency level that you can mention that you would need to be at in order to receive that information?
It may be slightly different for everyone, but in general, it usually happens for most humans on your planet when you have achieved something above 180,000 cycles per second.
So if you're in the channeling state, so to speak, or, you're following your passion, so you're in that state. There's
Yes.
different levels of excitement and full consciousness commitment to the experience, because maybe things are running in the background,
Let me
etc.
correct that.
Okay.
There are different expressions of excitement, but there aren't different levels of excitement. Excitement is excitement. Passion is passion. It can express itself in different ways, and there can be different vibrational states to those expressions, but the raw core idea of passion or excitement is a pure vibrational state without different levels in it. That's the point we're making, is that when you're actually functioning more holistically in the vibration of passion and excitement, the idea of much of the so-called confusion about what level you're on disappears, because by definition, what comes with that is a complete recognition by definition of exactly what pure state you're in.
Okay, so I know that a lot of people, after they experience you and the communications from you, they feel a deep sense of inspiration and excitement about their lives and what they can do.
Yes.
Comparing that to, say, someone who loves to paint, but while they're painting, they're thinking about the bills they have to pay or something like that, even
They're
though
not in their passion. They're not in their passion at that moment.
So you would be able to feel that inspired sense that we can feel after interacting with you. That would be a true indication of that higher frequency, yes?
Yes, stay there.
Okay.
No matter what you have to think of. The idea is, again, you must remember that this all happens in perfect timing. There will be a time when, if it is important for you to ponder the idea of a bill, it will come in the form that is still part of your passion. It won't be a distraction. It won't be a less than experience. It won't distract you from the passion of the moment. You'll find the right time to be passionate about the idea of paying a bill, if that is something that is truly necessary as part of your passion. So these things come in pure form. They don't obstruct each other. They don't interact in a way that is destructive to one another. It still allows you to come in a form in perfect timing that allows you to experience each and every one of those things in its pure, exciting form.